And welcome to the podcast. And it's time for another one of our special editions where we sort of embrace the question you get asked as a vegan quite a lot, namely, what would you do if you were on a desert island with a pig? Well, we probably wouldn't eat the pig. But what would you eat? What are the things that you would take with you to a desert island? The foods that you love. My guest today is Keegan Kuhn. He's the award-winning co-director of the acclaimed documentary films Cowspiracy, The Sustainability Secret. He's executive producer for What the Health, executive produced by Joaquin Phoenix, Running for Good, and executive producer for They're Trying to Kill Us. I've never had the word executive in front of anything I've ever done before. I gotta get up there. Keegan is the owner and operator of First Spark Media. It's a digital film production company tailored to creating films for social justice. He's motivated by a deep desire to shed light on untold stories of the most downtrodden in our society and to raise awareness through greater visibility of social justice issues. So say we all, as they said on Battlestar Galactica. I feel like that's a reference not many people are going to pick up on. Keegan, welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I'd love to talk a bit about your work and are you okay? Because I feel like you've had to watch some pretty awful stuff. I mean, most vegans on their Instagram feed, you know, it's like, well, I'll support that charity. And then you just end up with PTSD because you just see the horror.
Yeah.
How has it been? Are you okay? You're in a very dark room.
Yeah, I'm in a very dark place.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I have seen a lot of really hard things. Before making films, I was actually an undercover investigator. So I went into farms and documented pretty horrific conditions that animals lived under or live in currently.
Yeah.
So I struggle with that, and I still have a lot of memories that will never leave me. But I think that's one of the things I use for fuel for my activism. Is that, you know, when you have the victims in your mind, in the forefront of your mind, you remember why you're doing it. You know, you remember why you push through and you continue.
How do you then talk to non-vegans without getting all sort of hot-eyed and breathless and squeaky voiced? Because that's how I go.
Oh, God. So there's an option outside
the
of
animals
that, huh?
Well, I feel like Earthling Ed has just cornered that market. He's like the only guy.
Yeah,
he absorbed all our calm. Damn him. Anyway, look, let's talk food because that's what this podcast is all about. So roughly half a dozen dishes, snacks, food, ingredients. It can be whatever you want. What do you want to start with?
You know, I have a very simple diet. People ask me all the time about, you know, what do you eat as a vegan? And I feel like I'm a bad representation for it, but maybe I'm a great representation for it. I eat beans, pinto beans pretty much every day, or chickpeas.
Is this like direct from the can? Like, are you one of the, like...
I have been, but no, I've recently gotten into dehydrated refried beans, and they're really good because they cook in like 3 minutes.
How many processes do you need to put a bean through, dude? Like, that's thrice cooked beans.
That's it, man. And they're really good.
After you dehydrate, you should then rehydrate them.
There we go.
Boil them, then refry them.
There we go. Quadruple fried.
And unending. I'm fascinated to know what that's like because refried beans, I mean, I've had like, you know, commercial ones, and it kind of comes out the tin and it's like a perfect replica of the inside of the can, right? Where you could stand it up and
looks like dog food.
I didn't want to say it, but how do you make? So, what does the texture go like?
It's like a powder or flakes, and so it's really easy because then it saves all the freshness. It doesn't have that nasty can aspect to it. Yeah. Making beans from scratch, which I used to do all the time, is, you know, it just takes a long time. You soak your beans overnight and then you gotta, you know, boil them for 6 hours.
You're an executive now. Yeah. You can't be. I could be your executive bean boiler.
There we go.
I'd be an executive bean producer. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
The thing is, I spent a couple of years working in the States. I worked at BBC America.
Okay.
And the minute you went over to America, you just automatically got promotion. You just get bumped one up, right? So I was a director in the UK, and suddenly, bang, I'm a producer. The minute I landed at the States, it's like an automatic promotion and stuff. So
that's sweet. think it's a very unique, maybe UK to US, because most of the time people come to the US, it's the opposite. I have friends who are dentists in Mexico and come to the US and they become roofers. So it's,
I mean, I'd rather they went that way with the career than the other way.
yeah.
Like
roofer to dentist.
Yeah, like a guy with a mouthful of nails and a hammer peering over your head is not what you want, is it? Say okay, well that's a good. I mean, is that something you grew up with, the refried beans?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up vegetarian, and so Mexican food tends to be, and refried pinto beans is very traditional Mexican. Mexican food is super easy to be vegetarian and super easy to be vegan. And so I grew up with that predominantly. And that has just been my go-to since I've been a little kid.
So what do you do with the dehydrated, refried boiled beans? Like, do you just...
I reconstitute them. Yeah.
You do reconstitute.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's a gnarly meal, just powder. But no,
I was sort of felt like it would be the most cliched vegan breakfast cereal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I boil them and then I put them in a gluten-free tortilla, almond flour tortilla, super good, and put salsa on top of them. Usually fresh homemade pico de gallo. And that's my dinner pretty much every night. If I have a choice, that's my dinner every night.
There's nothing
and it's
wrong
been
with
that way for 20 plus years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's probably got everything.
Yeah. Well, you look at most of the world lives off of beans, and it's like, bean and a grain. So it's like mixed beans and rice, beans and millet, beans and, wheat. That's most of the world. So.
It's interesting. There's an Indian chef in the UK called Mr. Todiwala, and he was once asked I saw him on a TV show, and they said, what's like your favorite meal if you could have, one meal like forever? And he said rice and dal. Like he was like, I just want that, and it's like rice and lentils. And you kind of go, oh no, actually that makes sense. Like if you offered me, like, I don't know, eggs Florentine every day, like within a few days, you'd be like, I can't take that anymore.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I'm with you. Awesome. Okay, so you've got your many times over reconstituted beans. What's next?
I only eat 2 meals a day, and when I'm working, I eat 1 meal a day. So usually about midday, I do a smoothie, and I'm big on bananas. So it's usually bananas, cherries, and blueberries, and sometimes a protein powder mix, but most of the time it's just those 3 ingredients with either water or oat milk or flax milk.
Crumbs. Your body's quite a temple.
I haven't treated it as such, but it's more of like a Prius. It's very fuel efficient.
Yeah, I mean, your sort of, green credentials are very, very heavy here. Not bad on the food miles, not bad. You're doing great.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Impeccable. When did you get into smoothies? When was that a thing?
Probably like 15 years ago or more. I used to before I got into filmmaking, I was an organic farm developer. And so I traveled around setting up and designing a small scale organic agriculture. And so probably 3 to 6 months out of the year, I lived without electricity. And so you just...
How'd you make a smoothie? You must have had one of those bikes.
I had a hand cranked smoothie blender.
Did you really? Oh, come on. You're not I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to... You have the haircut of Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, you come on, dude. Like, if you don't hit me with like 8 pounds of lard as your third choice,
No, and I mean, I ate a lot of raw food, but it's eating 15 bananas is kind of laborious. But if you blend up 15 bananas, it's really nice. Yeah. Because I used to eat like 80% of my diet was banana. I lived in Hawaii. I was setting up farms there. Wow. And there's just an abundance of amazing organic, fresh bananas. And so that was most of my diet for a long time.
Well, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Like if you're surrounded by banana trees, you're going to eat bananas. When you're kind of filming on location and stuff, is that tricky? Like, is it hard to get the food you need?
It's not too bad. because of when I'm working, I only eat one meal a day. It's pretty simple, and
Right.
rice and beans are available everywhere I've ever been, and so it's pretty easy to get.
Yeah.
And then fruit is available everywhere, and so just eating fresh fruit is pretty decent.
One meal a day would not. I could not. I would. I mean, of course I could. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
you
that,
can.
aren't I?
It's.
Of course
I got
could.
inspired by there's this phenomenal activist, Fiona Oakes from the UK, who's a 4-time world record marathon runner. She runs a sanctuary. She takes care of 450 animals every single day. And I made a film about her called Running for Good. And she only eats one meal a day, and she runs like 20 miles every day and takes care of all these animals. I thought, okay,
now,
she can do it.
Is the way she does that? She gets someone to like drive her dinner 20 miles away, because by the end of the day, I would. I came up with a system once. I was trying to like lose some weight and stuff, and I worked out. I had this sort of calculator. I realized there was a pizza restaurant, and there was like a radius around my house, and I could. There was a pizza restaurant in like the neighboring borough that if I ran to it, I could eat there, because I would have burned enough calories getting there to justify that.
That's good. I like that. And then you got to get home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's good. No, Fiona, she just she's a phenomenal runner. She's a phenomenal athlete. She has all the motivation she ever needs, and she runs, to raise awareness for animals, and so that's the reason why she can do what she does. But yeah, I saw what she was doing. I thought, okay, if she can do it, running 20 miles a day, only eating basically one plate of food, I thought, I can do it as a filmmaker.
Wow. Did it take resolve, or did it just feel like a natural thing?
It's a mental thing. You have to get over the fact that if you're used to eating 3 times a day, you think, I must be hungry, or I need to do this. But as soon as you get into it, you realize, oh no, it's just something I was taught. Like, I'm not actually that hungry. It's just a pattern that I've been brought up with. Yeah. The harder part to me, honestly, is like when I'm home right now editing, that's when I want to eat, because I'm bored and I'm sitting down and I just don't want to do what I'm doing. So
sure,
when you're out filming, it's more exciting. It's easy just to go all day and just have that one meal at night and go to bed.
Do you hit that point? I hit it a lot, at home, like you, editing. Only what I'm editing has absolutely no value. But it's that thing. I can't sit down. Like, I'll sit down and immediately stand up again and just walk away to anything else.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
I got a standing desk for that reason for a while, and I'd spend the first half of my day standing, because it would be just that. I'm like, I can't sit down anymore. Wow. And it helped a lot. My productivity went up through the roof, and you also find yourself not scrolling on your phone or checking other websites because you want to sit down, and you're like, I have to get these things done before I can sit down. So I think standing desks are a great motivator.
That's amazing. I'm worried we're going to run out of food. Like, I feel like maybe we've hit them all. Like, we've had 2. And you've told me that's kind of all you eat. So
yeah,
I'm kind of fascinated to see where are we going next, if anywhere.
I am a junkie for sweets, and so I go back and forth between no sugar or all full bore, all the vegan junk food.
Oh, but I was like, what? Does he go on killing rampages?
But my healthy version is I do banana ice cream. Freeze bananas.
Oh, okay.
I blend those up, and that's like, you can have 15 bananas for breakfast as banana ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, you were talking about the difficulty of achieving 15 bananas.
Yeah.
That's pretty good going. I sort of imagine some kind of, I don't know, like pipe bomb of just like a scaffold filled with bananas and a small sort of cannon or something. I don't know. But yeah, the banana, that's a great ice cream thing. Yeah. I mean, do you ever mix anything in there?
No,
I put cocoa in and stuff, and that was pretty good.
That's good. That is good. A little bit of peanut butter is great. And then something that sounds weird, but tahini. If you put like a spoonful of tahini, you don't really get the taste, but you get the fat from it. And so it has that kind of fat mouth appeal, and it's really good.
Yeah. I have moderate fat mouth appeal. I saw in a restaurant. I really wish I'd tried it. But I was so relieved, because it was like the only vegan place I'd found anywhere in Miami. I was working out there, and finally found this restaurant. It's called Choices, and if you've got the chance, have you been
Choice
there?
is great.
Have you been there?
Yeah, I know the owner actually.
No,
Yeah.
amazing, because it's just like
really
a little place in the middle of a
Yeah.
little residential area in Miami. And we kind of walked to it. It was like a pilgrimage. It was like I can't eat any more stuff from Walgreens. I just can't do this. And so we went there, and it was the first time I tasted Daya cheese.
Okay.
Which was pioneering at the time. We're talking like 9-10 years ago. And but the whole place was such a comfort because, you know, the vegan scene wasn't enormous back then. It was so comforting after having been in this kind of very kind of flashy, glitzy downtown area for so long. And it felt like and I cried. I sat in this restaurant and just wept with just gratitude and relief for this place. But they did pancakes, and one of the toppings was banana and garlic. And they were like, don't knock it till you tried it. And I didn't try it, and I wish I tried it because I feel like I bet they're right. They were right about everything else.
I haven't heard of that one.
I know.
That's something.
You need to, talk to them.
Yeah.
Find out what they do.
I'll have to try it myself.
Yeah.
That's something.
Awesome. Okay, so so hang on. We've had refried beans. We've had bananas, and we've had bananas.
And then I'll just mix it up with another bean. I go through chickpea phases where that's like basically all I eat. I mash up chickpeas and make like a tuna-less spread, and, you know, add kelp meal or like kelp flakes. So it adds like that kind of ocean taste to it.
Yep.
Really big on hummus.
Okay.
We'll kind of just do any chickpea flour. I get hyper focused on one type of food, and that's all I eat for 6 months. And so we'll switch it up, but I pretty much stick to chickpeas, pinto beans, and bananas. I know. I'm telling you, it's a pretty boring diet for a lot of people, but I was just saying to my wife that if I can eat beans every single night, I'm happy, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Beans are really, really, really good. Yeah. And I think you have picked a good staple. I mean, you're not exactly eating a rainbow there.
No.
Keegan, you know, no. You're not eating a rainbow.
The salsa helps. And so that's the
okay. So you got red and yellow.
Yeah, and some green peppers and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely I have to kind of force myself to eat salads. There's huge benefits from it. I used to do kale in my smoothies, but I'm just not as excited about it. The greens is where I'm missing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could. Have you made kale chips?
I used to. I was raw for a little while, and I ate a ton of kale chips. It's like the go-to food for raw foodists. Yeah. And I'm pretty burnt out on them.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry I raised that. I apologize. I hope I haven't stirred up any.
Some bad memories with kale chips.
Yeah, horrendous. We'll be back with Keegan Kuhn right after this. Awesome. Well, that's the first half. Keegan Kuhn and possibly the last. I'm not. Is there a food that you don't like?
There are foods that I'm not super excited about. I'm not really excited about corn off the cob.
Okay. Because that's a primary color for you. Like it certainly fits on the Pantone scale.
I like corn chips though. Corn tortillas are good. Okay. Fresh corn is awesome, but corn by itself, I'm not a big fan of.
Okay.
But there's not really anything that I am like totally repulsed to. My wife won't eat cilantro. It's like the worst thing in the whole world to her. Okay. But I don't have anything like that I can think of.
Yeah.
As long as it's vegan, I'm pretty much I'll eat it.
How funky have you gone with that? Have you tried the fermented tofu? Have you tried?
Yeah. Yeah, I lived in Japan for a little while and had a fair share of natto
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
all of the different concoctions that East Asia has come up with for tofu and soybeans. Um, I got into fermented food really big for a little bit for like 6 months. Because I had read a book about how all the health benefits of it. I
Uh-huh.
don't know how much science was behind it because I didn't feel great, but
Oh,
um, yeah, there's a lot of options out there.
there certainly are. Have you ever eaten a durian?
I have tried a durian like
Have you?
maybe
I knew you'd have tried it. I'm
yeah
dying to try one.
yeah you're not missing much to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 15 years ago I had one. You have to get past the smell, but the
Mm.
taste is kind of like whatever. I feel like it's more of like a macho thing. Be like, yeah, I'm gonna eat something that smells absolutely horrible.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah,
I hope I'm not coming from that place. I don't. It's not that. It's more of a kind of when people say it stinks and it smells revolting. I just feel like I'm that kind of sick puppy that would probably just
I'll
end up
try it.
rolling in it like a fox. You know what I mean?
Hey, who knows? You might.
It's not a machismo thing. It's more of a confession. I think it's oversharing. That's what it is.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, when I lived in Hawaii, the abundance of incredible tropical fruits is amazing, and so I got to try a ton of things that I'd never had, like breadfruit, and
Yeah.
um, I don't know if you've ever had breadfruit, but
No,
it's
no. Tell me.
incredible. It's when you cook it, it has like a spongy sort of texture to it. It's almost like crumpets, and
Wow.
yeah, it's really good. It's mildly sweet. They're awesome, and especially the reason why they call it breadfruit is because it resembles bread when it's cooked, and it's one of
Yeah.
those few fruits that you can cook and it doesn't just turn to mush.
How do you cook it?
You can bake it usually. That's how most people do it. So you
Wow.
wrap it up in tinfoil so it doesn't dehydrate.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Cool. I want to try that.
yeah.
In terms of your work and stuff, and the way the sort of the vegan movement has I mean just exponentially come along in the last few years and stuff. Are you feeling any kind of like more of a pushback from big ag and big corporation? Like, is it getting in a way harder to do what you're doing because people are paying more and more attention to it?
That's a great question. It is and it isn't. So it's harder to get distribution because the success of these other films you'd think would like help, like Cowspiracy and What the Health and Seaspiracy and the Game Changers have really like propelled into mainstream audiences. But it has created a lot of pushback. And so like Cowspiracy is one of the most reviewed films on Netflix history, but not all
Wow.
the reviews are positive, right? Like they get
Okay.
pushback, but it's a fairly watched film. But it's so funny because in the United States, a lot of the major meat companies are now investing in plant-based options or meat alternatives. And so it's they're fighting to hold on to their industry, but at the same time, they see the writing on the wall and they know that it's a limited amount of time while people are still going to eat animals.
Yeah.
And so they're starting to invest. And so it's a funny thing to see where there's pushback on one half and then investment on the other.
That is a curious dichotomy, isn't
Yeah.
it? Trying to kill an industry and then divesting into it at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is. They're playing both sides of it.
Yeah. Which I guess that's smart business, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You donate to both
Yeah.
parties, don't you?
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. And do you have any projects in the pipeline that you can talk about?
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch. We have The End of Medicine, which is directed by Alex Lockwood, a BAFTA-winning director from 73 Cows. It's a film about the role of animal agriculture and zoonotic diseases. And we actually started making this film in the summer of 2019 before COVID was making headlines. And it was supposed to be this warning film that, hey, if we keep messing with animals the way we are, we're going to see a global pandemic and, millions of people are going to die and antibiotic resistance is going to go through the roof. And we're going to see the end of medicine as we know it. 6 months into the project, COVID hits. And
Yeah.
it went from being a warning film to a current affairs piece, but still has that element and digs deep into the fact that mainstream media is ignoring the fact that if we continue to use and abuse animals and the natural world, that we're going to see the end of medicine as we know it. that film is coming out this summer, 2022.
It's interesting. Like here in the UK, there have been no discernible headlines about the fact that there's a massive outbreak of bird flu in the UK right now. And I know something like 2 million chickens have been culled because of it, which sounds like a lot. But then you remember that just in the UK, we kill 1 billion chickens a year. So that's actually less than like a daily average. But it's still quite shocking, isn't it?
Yeah. And these headlines aren't getting the attention they deserve. You know, there's a new avian flu in Siberia, which has a 65% lethality rate. So 65% of the people who contract this avian flu die. You compare that to COVID, and, you know, at less than 1%. It's like these are serious threats, and they're not getting attention because, it disrupts an industry. People get scared, you know, and so. The End of Medicine is a very powerful, beautiful film that's coming out. I have another film that I'm a producer on called Milked, about the dairy industry in Aotearoa, New Zealand. It's like a Cowspiracy of Aotearoa. It's really beautiful.
That's out now, isn't it? Is that already out?
It just premiered at the New Zealand International Film Festival, but will be coming out in the next couple of months. And so that's a great film by Amy Taylor, really talented filmmaker. And like 6 other projects, but I can't quite mention any of them just yet.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, amazing. And it's such a nice feeling when you can actually marry your work to your values, isn't it?
I feel very, very fortunate that I'm able to do that. I've been doing this work for virtually my entire life, and in the last few years I've been able to make money. So that's cool.
I mean, anytime you have any tips, that sounds great. Because I'm still having to put in night shifts at the abattoir down the road, and it's it's just terrible. Getting very samey. It's getting very samey. So, look, do you have any more foods that you like, or have we literally run the gamut with beans, bananas, and bananas?
You know, I mean, I love Mexican food. Pretty much anything that's on the Mexican menu, I'm excited about. I love Indian food. I love Ethiopian food. Yeah. And so those are more of the, you know, but they all tend to be the same things, right? They're a grain,
beans, isn't it?
Yeah, and a bean, yeah. And again, you can look at the vast majority of the human population has historically lived off that and continues to. So that's what I'm most excited about. But yeah, I'd say Indian, Ethiopian, and Mexican are like my go-tos, and I'm not necessarily the best chef of any of them, but anything that I've ever gotten, I've been excited about. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing both of them with us today. It was a very surprising listen. And then less so as it progressed. You know, I sort of got the better of where we were going. But it's been an absolute delight to meet you. And where can people find you and your work? I mean, your stuff is out everywhere. But yeah. You can see the films on Netflix. But if you go to firstsparkmedia.net, that's my website, and links to all the films. And I'm terrible at social media, so following the films pages are the best. Cowspiracy, What the Health, They're Trying to Kill Us, Running for Good, The End of Medicine. Those are great places to keep up to date. Amazing. Keegan Kuhn, thanks so much. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And there you have it. If you would like to learn about other vegan foods other than beans and bananas, why not check out other episodes of the podcast? We've got some of the finest chefs in the world giving you tips, tricks, and ideas for nice foods that you can cook and eat them. That's pretty basic, isn't it? But that's what it is. Also, if you've got any questions about cooking vegan food, why don't you hit us up? Say hi. It's podcast@veganlifemag.com. Veganlifemag.com is where you can find more about the magazine and the podcast, and subscribe to the magazine, or you can buy it in a shop. And we'll be back soon. I'm Jake Yap. Thanks very much for your company. See you soon. Bye. This has been a Swanburst Media production.